again, everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Maya Karen. I run a fashion blog called Classically Kept. It does feature luxury, contemporary, and how to style. So if you are into that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you will never miss a video when I post it. So today I am going to be going over 8 tips that have helped me maintain and get to waist length hair. Besides fashion, natural hair, natural healthy hair is one of my passions. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so tip number 1. As you can see, my hair is up in like a little coif. But in this coif, or how my hair is positioned or styled in this coif, is in mini twist. That would be considered a protective style. So my very first tip for you guys to retain length and to grow your hair is protective styling. And I know it's like this, not necessarily controversial, but it's this debate about whether or not protective styling does actually help retain and grow your hair. It does, but you have to do it properly. That can be a whole nother video, which if you guys want, I can explain the do's and don'ts of protective styling. But protective styling has helped me maintain my length and it has helped me grow my hair. Simply because I use, again, like I have my hair in a coif. This is a hairstyle, but when I take this down, I will use it, or whenever I have mini twists in my hair, I act like my hair is out or I act like it's just regular hair, and then I will style it accordingly. You guys know that I love a bun. I will take this exact same hairstyle or these exact same twists and I will put them in a high bun, I'll put them in a low bun, and then typically I'll have like a twist going right here. Or I'll kind of do like a jasmine hairstyle and just wrap the twist around my head from like the top all the way to the bottom. Throw on some statement earrings and I am done. But protective styling has helped me so much, because also what you can do is you can moisturize your hair in the protective styling. And because your hair is parted, if you do have dry and itchy scalp or you want to re-moisturize your scalp, you can just take your fingers or whatever type of instrument you use and you can just go through the crevices. Okay, so protective styling, that could be anywhere from twists, it can be braids, it can be buns. It's really just low manipulation. The less you touch your hair, the less friction there will be. So that is my first tip for you guys, is protective styling, which, like I just said before, my next tip for number 2 is going to be moisture. Moisture. When it comes to curly, natural hair, moisture and water are going to be your friend. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to keep your hair moisturized. If you do not keep your hair moisturized, it will not be strong, it will not remain strong, it will not remain malleable, and it will start to break off. Whatever it is you use, make sure that you get a regimen, which will bring me to tip number 3. Make sure that you have a regimen when it comes to your natural hair. So for instance, let me give you a quick rundown of mine. I wash my hair every 2 weeks. Within those 2 weeks, I keep my hair mainly in twists. To keep my hair moisturized on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is when I use my, I believe it's the Camilla Rose Almond Jai. And since my hair is in twist, what I will do is I will take a spray bottle. My spray bottle has water, aloe vera juice, and avocado oil in it. I spritz my hair with that, and then I go in sections, of course, with my moisturizing cream, and then that's it. I wrap it and I go to sleep. On Tuesday and Thursday, if I see maybe like a frizzy twist, especially in the front, I don't too much care about the back. In the front, I will re-gel my edges, and then I'll just kind of do like the perimeter as far as the twists go. I am, I guess, what you would consider a lazy natural. And when I say lazy, I mean my hands are not always in my hair. I'm not always touching my hair. I'm not always fixing it, which will be my last tip. I have a tip for you if you have hands and hair syndrome. But yes, make sure that your hair is moisturized. If you feel like your hair is dry, and most of the time you can tell when your hair is dry, especially if you look at the ends of your hair and it's not very defined or they're not clumped together, that is a tall tale sign that you actually need to moisturize your hair, okay? So tip number 4, and I'm just looking at my computer. So tip number 4 is no tight styles. This style that you see right here is all bobby pins. I don't use hair ties, rubber bands, any of that, because what you will start to notice, especially if you do low buns and you gather your hair here, or if you do top nuts, you'll start to see that perimeter hair will start to break off. And it's just because of the tension and how tight you have your hair pulled, you will start to see pieces of your hair falling off. And then the other thing, as far as tight styling is concerned, I know it's wrong, but one of my pet peeves are no edges. That is one thing that I pride myself on as far as my edges are concerned. With that tight styling, when you pull your hair so tight, your edges will start to snap. So just make sure, if you are going to do that, make sure, I believe they have the, I think it's Scoonie or Soonchi, they have the no, the no nag or the no snag ponytail holders. And I know right now they have those really pretty ones with the pearls, and then they also have the ones that come in a coil. If you are going to use those, just make sure you don't do them so tightly, and also do not go to sleep in those hairstyles, okay? Which will bring me to my next point, and I know this is another point of contention. I don't understand why, but my next tip is, when you go to bed, unless you are sleeping on a silk pillowcase, and even if you are, because your head tends to, slide and do things like that, make sure that when you go to bed, you're wearing your bonnet. I understand it's not sexy. I understand that it's not aesthetically pleasing. But if you don't want to be bald, if you don't want your hair to start snapping off, I would highly suggest that you invest in a bonnet. It can have your favorite cartoon on it. You can have the infamous black bonnet. You can get one with a whole bunch of designs on it to make it somewhat appealing. But I promise you, when you wake up in the morning, you will be grateful. I promise in the next couple of months, if you start to wear a bonnet, you will start to see a difference in your hair. Because just think about it, especially if you are not laying on a silk pillowcase. If you're laying on that cotton, and if your head is like this right here, and you're consistently rubbing against that, your hair, the cuticles, first of all, the cuticles on your, because your hair is layered and it does have cuticles. If you are consistently rubbing up against that pillow, the cuticle of your hair is going to be lifted, and then it's going to get damaged because that friction, your hair is, even though our hair is quite marvelous and quite resilient, in some aspects, it is very delicate, and that is one. If you continuously, and as a matter of fact, I want you to do this. Take a piece of hair, don't pull it out. Take a piece of hair that is fallen or a piece of hair that is shedded, and just take that piece of hair and just continuously rub it against your pillow. Just continuously rub it against your pillow and see what happens. Not only will you start to see little pieces of breaking points, it will actually start to thin out. And if you're trying to grow your hair, you want to make sure that you are protecting it as much as possible. Okay? So let's go ahead and move on. I think trims. Yes. This is another controversial or very touchy subject, and this is different for every single person. There are naturalistas out there who have never trimmed their hair and their ends are still intact. Maya Karen is not one of those. As a matter of fact, me not trimming my ends is the reason why I had a setback in 2017. So this is for me. It's not for everybody. Trimming your ends. Make sure that you are trimming your ends, because a lot of people get the two terms confused as far as length retention and then as far as your hair growing. Your hair is always growing. It's just that when you do your length check, it seems as though your hair is not growing because it is actually breaking off, okay? But you need to trim your ends. Those ladies are very few and far and in between. Do I wish I was one of them? Absolutely, but I have learned that I am not. Now, as far as how often you need to trim your ends, that is completely up to you, what you're comfortable with, and what your hair tells you. As you are going along your natural journey, your hair will speak to you and it will let you know. As far as trimming for me, y'all know that I straighten my hair once a year. That's when I get a full trim. Other than that, I dust, and then I would probably say at least 2 other times, during the year, I trim my ends. So for me, that's consistent, on a consistent basis, is dusting, and then I trim my ends 3 times a year, okay? Now, this last tip, I absolutely this probably, besides the protective styling, this is probably the main reason as to why I have been able to grow my hair as long as I have. I call it hands and hair syndrome, and this is even with my hair in twist. When I'm sitting at the house, whether I'm working, whether I'm watching TV, whatever it is I'm doing, if I'm sitting somewhere and my hands are idle and my hair is down, where do my hands go? Right to my hair. I start touching it, I start pulling onto it, so I start looking at it, and I start twisting it again, then I go to this side and I start playing with it. My hands are in my hair. Hands and hair syndrome. And like I've said before, low manipulation, not touching your hair, leaving your hair alone is one of the best ways to retain your length. So, I have actually found a way to combat my disease, hands and hair syndrome, and that's just tying my hair up in these little cute styles. And again, I can do a video because I have several ways that I can tie it up. And I will go ahead and say that they are pretty cute and chic, because y'all know that I will also add a pair of statement jewelry or a pair of statement earrings to my look, and I'm done. I could have on a t-shirt and leggings and then put on some statement earrings and wrap my hair up, and I'll be dressed, especially if I'm going to be around the house. But that, to me, is probably, besides the protective styling and the rest of the tips, I would say that hand in hand, protective styling and keeping your hands out of your hair and keeping your hair up are the number 2 ways that I have been able to retain my length. And I will say this is a side note, as far as when you are actually growing your hair out, when your hair stops right here and it stops right here, that is actually not necessarily the weakest point, but that is probably the worst way possible to wear your hair, especially when it falls right here and right here. Why? Because the clothing that you wear is very abrasive. And if your hair is consistently, because you're always moving, even when you're talking, you don't think about it, but even when you're talking or when you're in conversation with someone, you're moving and your hair is moving. Your hair is not stiff, so it's going to move. But throughout the day, just think of how many times you actually move your head. Your ends, again, you have on this abrasive, it's the exact same thing with sleeping on the pillow. Your ends, and when you want your hair to grow, you have to make sure that you are keeping up with that. If push comes to shove and you absolutely have to wear your hair out and you just want to, what I would suggest to you is take a little bit of shea butter, melt it a little bit, and then just coat your ends. That is also a huge a way that I have been able to retain my length, because I was at that point where my hair was long enough where it was in twists and I just wanted to wear it out all the time. What I did was I just took a little bit of shea butter, I melted it, and then I just dipped my ends, and then I was good to go. So when my hair was brushing up against, it was actually not necessarily shaving off, but it was rubbing up against the shea butter. And I wouldn't say, because I wasn't really wearing white clothing, because I was mainly wearing my hair out in the winter. In the summer, it's just too hot. So the color transfer or the stain of the cocoa butter, the shea butter, it wasn't really an issue. So, but just really short, quick, sweet video. Those are the tips that I have. Again, these are not universal. Just because you follow these tips verbatim does not mean you are going to get the same results, because also genetics does play a part in it, but also at the rate that your hair grows is also individual. So just because my hair grows an inch a month, you might be at half an inch a month, which I will say that this is probably like an honorable mention. And I used to be guilty of this as well. Stop with the length checks every single month, every single day, every single week. I can't forget the name of it, but we've all heard it before. When you watch something, it does not move, nor does it grow. So, like I said, I was guilty of it. Every single month, I'd be pulling my hair, going like this and pulling my hair just to see how much length I have. It's a journey. Your hair is not going to grow an inch overnight. Now, with that being said, I know some of you have heard of the inversion method, and basically what that is you take an oil, you kind of massage your head, and then you flip your head upside down, and I think you stay upside down for like 3 minutes. I have never done that consistently, because in research, I've actually found that it has actually done more damage than good. Some people swear by it, but I'm just saying, be patient. your hair, if you take care of it, if you do some of the tips that I have listed previously, your hair is always growing. It's just a matter of maintaining and retaining your length. So those are all the tips that I have for you guys today. I just want to remind you that I do upload videos here every Wednesday and Sunday. And then, of course, right here, I will link my Instagram handle. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Bye.